Hey everyone, today we are taking a look at the 2017 film, The Ritual. Watch out for spoilers and enjoy the show. The scene opens with a group of old college friends enjoying a night out in a London pub. While they drink, they discuss potential destinations for their next group vacation. Luke proposes they go to Amsterdam, and Dom suggests a trip to Belgium. Both ideas are shot down, when Rob then suggests a hiking trip to Sweden, something called the King's Trail. It's not their usual trip, which typically involves a lot of drinking, but it seems like Phil and Hutch might be up for it. They eventually leave the bar, and Rob agrees to join Luke as he goes to buy another bottle of booze from a store across the street. Inside the store, Luke and Rob browse the shelves, continuing their conversation. They suddenly notice a scared woman behind the counter of the store, and realize they just walked into the middle of a violent robbery. Luke, gripped by fear, runs and hides behind a display, clutching a bottle of vodka as a weapon. Rob, standing his ground, is confronted by the robbers and refuses to give up his wedding ring. One of the men hits him in the head, knocking him to the ground. He looks up at Luke for help, but Luke stays in his hiding spot. The robber hits him again, in the head, and then takes the ring off his now limp hand. We see Luke being overcome with fear and guilt as blood begins to pool under Rob's body. We cut to a scene 6 months later, and the remaining 4 friends are seen embarking on the hiking trip in Sweden to honor Rob's memory. The landscape is breathtakingly beautiful, with expansive views of the Scandinavian wilderness. They set off on their trek, carrying heavy backpacks and navigating through rugged terrain. As they continue to hike along the trail, Dom injures his knee badly after tripping on uneven ground. They get him a walking stick while they talk about what to do next, as the injury will slow their progress significantly. As they consult their map, Hutch suggests taking a shortcut through the forest to save time. Luke is unsure, but as Dom is in significant pain, he pushes for the shortcut. As they venture into the trees, we see that the forest is dense and foreboding, with the group commenting on the eerie silence. After walking for a while, they encounter an animal hanging high up in the trees, its insides hanging from its body. The men get nervous, wondering what kind of animal is capable of such a feat. As night falls, the weather takes a turn for the worse, with heavy rain and strong winds beating down on them. As they discuss their plans for shelter, they happen to stumble upon an old abandoned cabin. They decide to break in to stay there for the night, as they need to get out of the storm. As the group ventures into the cabin, Luke hears some unusual noises coming from nearby in the woods. Inside the cabin, the group notice there are strange symbols carved into the walls, as they look around for wood to burn for a fire. Upstairs, we see that someone has set up a bizarre effigy, resembling a human torso, with antlers for hands. Despite their unease about the cabin, their exhaustion wins out, and they lay down to get a few hours of shut-eye. During the night, each of the men is plagued by horrifying nightmares. Luke is seen dreaming of the liquor store robbery, and then seems to get pulled out into the forest by some kind of entity. He notices he has a wound on his chest as he runs back to the cabin to check on the others. He sees that the other men appear to each be having terrifying episodes of their own, with Hutch having wet his pants and Dom repeating his wife's name while staring off into space. Luke then heads upstairs, noticing some clothing on the steps. When he reaches the top floor, he sees Phil on his knees, completely naked and in a trance-like state, praying to the effigy, with no memory of how he got there. The men then proceed to get dressed, while they try to shake the disturbing visions from their heads. At first light, the group hastily leaves the cabin, their nerves frayed, and their spirits dampened. Phil tries to talk about what happened to him, but Hutch tells him to keep it to himself. That night, the group sets up camp, attempting to rest despite their mounting fear. We can see that Dom's knee has only been getting worse, and that Phil's feet are getting blisters from his shoes. Once again, their uneasy sleep is shattered when they are attacked by a mysterious, unseen creature. Hutch's tent is destroyed as he is dragged away into the darkness, his screams piercing the night. The others scramble to find him, grabbing flashlights and trying to find the source of the screams. They run clumsily through the forest, shouting Hutch's name. They continue to walk until daylight, but unfortunately, their search only leads them to a horrifying sight: Hutch's body, brutally mutilated and impaled on a tree. A truly grotesque display of the creature's power. Traumatized and desperate, the group continues their trek, hoping to find a way out of the forest. After walking all day, darkness descends once again, and Phil and Dom both collapse onto the ground, utterly exhausted. Luke has a little more energy, so he scouts ahead. But when he comes back, he sees that Phil is being taken by the creature. He watches as the entity lifts Phil into the trees, eventually seeing Phil meet the same fate as Hutch had earlier that day. Luke and Dom then begin to run, while the creature chases after them, making horrifying sounds as it closes in on them. In their desperate race to escape the creature, they stumble upon a path leading to a village hidden deep within the forest. They run down the path and collapse into one of the nearby houses, hastily closing the door behind them. Luke looks around to get his bearings, seeing a creepy shrine on one of the walls. Unfortunately, he also sees someone standing next to him, and he gets a kick to the face. The men are seen waking up sometime later, chained to the floor inside of another one of the decrepit buildings. An elderly woman later comes to them, offering Luke a drink of water, but none to Dom. Luke pleads for Dom to be given some water too, but she does not listen. Later on that night, Dom is unchained and dragged upstairs while screaming. He continues to scream upstairs for some time before finally being brought back down again. He said they were marking him and preparing him for a sacrifice. Dom is later taken out of the room again and tied to a wooden structure on the edge of the forest. He is being left out for the creature to take, and we begin to see it smashing its way through the trees and making its horrible noises. As he awaits his fate, Dom has a vision of his wife, a comforting yet heartbreaking hallucination. The creature then appears in her place, with human-like hands and glowing eyes, attached to a massive, animal-like body. Dom's death is brutal and swift, with the creature lifting him up and impaling him on a nearby tree. A younger woman later enters the building where Luke is being held and begins to explain some things to him. She reveals that the creature is called the Jotun, an ancient Norse god. The Jotun grants the cultist immortality in exchange for their worship, along with regular human sacrifices. Luke has been spared because of the trauma and guilt he carries from Rob's death, which the creature seems to feed on. He will be allowed to live as long as he agrees to worship the Jotun with the rest of the cultists, for the rest of his life. Determined to survive and avenge his friends, Luke manages to break free from his restraints. He sneaks through the building he is being held in, following the sounds of some strange chanting nearby. He picks up a torch and enters a nearby room, seeing it is filled with a bunch of withered corpses, propped up and facing another dead body in a chair at the front of the room. The dried-up bodies are seen to be doing the chanting somehow, and Luke uses his torch to set fire to them one by one. The bodies begin screaming while they burn. Luke then goes and grabs a rifle from a stockpile nearby, as the fire he set, along with the screaming, is starting to draw attention. He shoots one of the villagers who tries to stop him, but before any others can get to him, there's a loud roar from the Jotun. The villagers all kneel on the ground as the creature emerges from the forest. He seems to be angry with the villagers though as well, and he begins to attack them all. In all the commotion, Luke is able to escape the house with his rifle and an axe. From his vantage point on the edge of the forest, Luke sees the creature carrying one of the villagers in front of the burning house. He takes the opportunity to take a shot at the creature with his rifle while it's distracted, only to lead to the beast turning to chase him. He runs into the woods with the beast in fast pursuit. He starts to hallucinate about the liquor store again as the Jotun overtakes him, knocking him down. It lifts him up, then forces him to the ground in a kneeling position. The creature seems to revel for a moment in this new worship, and Luke takes the opportunity to hit it in the face with his axe. He then takes off running, trying to escape to the clearing just beyond the trees, with the Jotun roaring behind him. As he breaks through the tree line, he stumbles into a field where the forest abruptly ends. The Jotun stops its pursuit, apparently unable to leave its domain. Luke stands, exhausted and battered. He begins to roar back defiantly at the ancient god, which eventually decides to leave him alone. He continues to walk away from the forest as the sun begins to rise, finally able to put this nightmare behind him. Like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. See you next time.